part 2 of Jinri being hospitalized after giving birth. So in Korea, as you guys know, they have a baby room where they keep the babies. So what I wanted to do this time was stay with the baby 24/7. And in Korea, that is called 24 모자 동실, which means like you're with the baby 24/7. Luckily, my hospital said you have to, if you want to do that, you have to be with the baby at least 16 hours. So I was like, oh, I think that's doable. So we went to the nurse. We went there and I was like, we're ready. Like, we're here to do the 24-hour thing. And they were like, okay, are you sure? Like, mom, you don't want him to get any more rest? I was like, no, we'll be good. Because I've seen these documentaries and all these books saying that if you want to like understand how your baby works and like where he cries, what he cries for and everything, it's best for you to stay with the baby when the baby is born. And that's what they do in the US. So a lot of Korean books refer a lot to American materials. And also I've been reading a lot of the US. They actually have American, I thought it was something APA, Pediatrics Association, that I use a lot of their information as well, because I think that's probably a lot like very trustworthy. So if you ever get a baby, definitely check that site out. There's a lot of important information. For example, like always using a car seat when you're driving. There's no exception because in the end the baby's gonna become the air cushion, you know. So something along the lines of that. So they recommended me staying with the baby 24/7. Also my brother's wife ended up doing that too in the US. So I was like, why not? So the first night with the baby went fabulous. The baby did not cry. The baby slept. We're taking pictures. We just hold the baby when it seems like it's opening, the baby's opening his eyes. It was like, oh, psh. Taking care of a baby is piece of cake. I don't understand why people don't do this. It's such a wonderful moment, right? We're like video calling my mom, his dad, my relatives, his relatives. No worries, no big worries, right? And that night went like perfect. I even had to ask the nurse that about how the baby does not cry at all, and she was like, oh, don't worry. I was like, are you sure the baby doesn't cry? What if he has some type of issue? It's okay, he cries, don't worry. Yeah, the day after that was terrible. It literally went from like being above in heaven of like this perfectly grown baby to like hell. The next day baby comes in, and remember how I talked to you guys about the hospital rooms not having AC, or it was like a systematic air conditioning where we cannot change the AC degrees by ourselves. It has to like it's all in unison. So the baby comes to our room again in the morning, and he's fine. He just wakes up, he's like, hello, and then he kind of whines. So we're like, oh, maybe it's time for him to eat. And obviously, since I want to try breastfeeding, I give him my, my titties, and he's like, yum yum yum. Okay, nothing's coming out. Maybe like a drop is coming out. This is okay. Well, whatever. And he still cries a little bit. So we end up going to the nurse, asking him for formula, which is different from the US. Surprisingly, in Korea, they don't have concept of saving formula from other moms. They don't have that. So instead, they just feed you formula, which sucks is for those who want to try breastfeeding, because he's so used to eating like 30 milliliters of formula that if I try to breastfeed him, he'd be like, no. He's like, he'll be latching on it for a bit, and then he starts crying out because nothing's coming out. And obviously that makes sense. He's pissed off, right? You think food is gonna come, but you end up not having food. So That was really unfortunate, and he was crying a lot for that. So we just gave him formula, 30 milliliters, which wasn't that much, and we just followed the hospital system, so it wasn't like a big deal. And we thought that would be the best, since hospitals know what they're doing, right? So, we have the formula, and at one point he starts crying, and Mia and I, first time parent, didn't know what to do, so we did all the checklist, right? Before we give him food, we do the diaper check. Did he pee? Did he poop? We opened the diapers, nothing happened. We closed the diapers. Okay, that's not it. He's still crying. Next thing we tried was we tried holding him. Maybe he feels he feels lonely being in this bed by himself. We tried holding him, we tried shaking him, didn't work. Oh my god, we started panicking. We tried giving him food. Obviously it doesn't work because he just ate like 5 minutes ago. We tried burping. He's not burping that much either. We tried everything on the checklist, and now this crying isn't ending, and it's getting worse. Also, because the hospital that we were in was a old building, the walls were very thin, which means that people the parents staying next doors, oh my god, I felt really bad for them, because he was crying out so loud, so loud. So we were very, very, very puzzled on figuring out why he's crying, and so we ended up calling the nurse. It's funny because I feel bad. The nurses, there's only 3 nurses taking care of 10 babies, right? 3 nurses taking care of 10, 12 babies, and for them to come see our baby is basically understaffed in the baby room. But they rushed in because we were like, okay, the baby's crying. We fed him. We checked the diapers. We did this, that, and nothing's happening. The nurse comes in and she's like, oh, I think maybe he's overheating. And we're like, what? And later I checked the room temperature, and since the room temperature in the hospital was maybe I would say 85, this baby that's wrapped in very thick cloth was not enjoying the room temperature. So I didn't realize, but his face started getting super red to a point there was things coming out of his face. So the nurse comes in and she's like, oh, okay, well now we have to keep him nude. So we had to take this wrapping off. I had to buy these hand mittens that was $10, because he would start scratching his face, and I'm like, what the heck? So we ended up having to open up the windows and trying to keep him cool, but that didn't do it. So unfortunately I had to give the baby back to the baby room, because they can have the room cold but not in our room. So the second day that I had the baby, it was unfortunate, and we ended up saying, okay, maybe in the hospital we'll just end up resting and not doing anything. So yeah, that was really unfortunate. I wanted to stay with the baby and try to bond with him. There was no skin to skin that I see in the American movies, the TikTok, and our baby ended up having to be nude throughout the whole hospital period. So every time I go see our baby, since we couldn't be with him since the room was really hot, our baby's everyone's wrapped up nicely in this white cloth, and there's our baby half naked. And from chest up to the face, he's all red. So even being in the baby room wasn't helping cool him down. And I'm just oh my god, that's so embarrassing, especially because he's so skinny compared to other babies. So that was really unfortunate. And what was surprising was that the first night we stayed with the baby, there were things to do, take pictures of the baby, hold the baby, feed the baby. We even changed the diapers. His poop was black, which was funny. But anyways, we finally got to try this parenting that people talk about. Now without the baby, Mia and I were so what should we do? I really thought about streaming. because there was nothing for me to do. But we had to rest and we couldn't talk loud because, like I said, the walls were thin that I could hear other moms talking. So I'm just sitting there like watching YouTube videos, which was also boring. And I couldn't go see our babies because there was only 2 times we could see the babies. So I kept walking around, which was also a bad idea because my feet ended up being very like swollen, since I also put on these like stockings that they told me, these like tights that they told me to put on. Apparently it's good for blood circulation. I don't know if it really helps. I ended up taking it off because it was like hot and annoying too. And like I couldn't do anything. That's the only thing I do. So I was like miserable. And I was like, oh, is this also like postpartum depression that's happening? So I really, really wanted to leave the hospital. I think that was like the time of me being like, I don't wanna do nothing. Because if you think about like the whole time during my pregnancy, I was just in bed, like streaming, laying down, talking to you guys, which wasn't a bad thing. You guys like helped me, make me feel better, but that's all I did, right? And now after I finally gave birth, I thought I could do some parenting that people talked about. But like I said, in Korea, they really want to focus on the mom's recovery than moms having to take care of baby, because their mindset is you'll end up having to take care of the baby once you leave the hospital. So at least during your hospital, like at least during your stay in the hospital, please get good rest. But it's really hard. First of all, the bed's very uncomfortable. Any hospital beds are uncomfortable. It's hot. The food is very healthy. And I needed some salt in my food, which wasn't really helping. So Mia ended up buying some Baskin Robbins ice cream for me. But yeah, that was like hospital Jinri. And so it would have been really great if we could have seen the baby, but it was not a fun experience. So I can see why some foreigners, especially who wants to be very latched to their babies after giving birth, would not appreciate being in Korean hospitals, because some hospitals do allow 24/7, like being with the baby 24/7, but you end up, like not enjoying being by yourself once the baby's born, especially because like you gotta feel the bump, but the bump's gone, the baby's gone. I'm with my husband. He's like, he's just there. There's nothing for us to talk about other than, oh, I wonder what our baby's doing. He's working there too, but I feel bad. I was like, maybe he should just go to work, and he's like, nah, it's okay, I'll stay with you. I'm like, well, we're not really doing anything. I'm watching YouTube videos. There wasn't any fun dramas out there. So it was a pretty sad, depressing hospital experience. So that is that for going to the hospital for 3 days. And the day that I was leaving the hospital, they had to do some paperwork. Mia's family, his whole family came, which was surprising. Especially because 2 of them didn't get the tetanus shot. I was kind of disappointed in that, but at least they got to see the baby from far away. And I know some people might kind of be like, it's just a tetanus shot, there's no 100% true, like the whooping cough is not that common, blah blah blah, but it's like this precious baby that's been in my womb for 10 months, and I've struggled and I've tried to keep this baby very healthy, but it was just very unfortunate that was happening. And even to this day, like I still keep talking to Mia about how, like, let's try to avoid anything that we can do from him getting sick. Of course, if he gets sick, it's unfortunate and it's okay for him to get sick. I'm not saying he should never get sick, but at least if there's things that we can avoid doing, such as getting the tetanus shot, so that he won't be caught to the whooping cough and blah blah blah, that's what I was preferring. But since in Korea, I don't think a lot of people have that mindset, especially they have the back in my days mindset of back in my days, you were grown well without parents getting the tetanus shot, it's okay. Have mindset, I had to fight a lot with Mia about that, which is another fun story, but that is really unfortunate. Yeah.